All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something really important, the intellectual engine that's been driving Pakistan's economy for decades. We're talking about the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics. You'll hear it called PIDE, and it's one of the most crucial think tanks in the entire country.
I mean, have you ever really thought about it? These huge government policies, things like trade deals, new taxes, big spending projects, they don't just pop into existence, right? Nope. They start somewhere else. They start as an idea, as research, as a ton of data, and a carefully written paper. So the real question is, where do these big ideas actually come from?
Well, for Pakistan, for over 60 years now, a huge part of the answer to that question has been a single institution. You could call it the country's economic brain trust. And that is the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics, or as pretty much everyone calls it, PIDE.
So let's get into what PIDE actually is. It has this really interesting double life, you know? On one hand, it's a top-tier academic institute, basically a university that's training the next generation of economists. But at the exact same time, it's a public policy think tank, and it's right there in the thick of it, influencing the big debates that are shaping the country right now. This two-for-one identity, that's been its secret sauce right from the beginning, way back in 1957.
But to really get why PIDE is so important, you've got to go back in time. Let's look at its origins. I mean, this place was forged in the early days of a brand new nation, just 10 years after Pakistan's independence. It wasn't just another government department. It was built from the ground up to be a real intellectual powerhouse. And check out this timeline. It shows just how fast this place grew. It was founded in '57, right? But just a few years later, in the early '60s, its advisory board had actual Nobel laureates on it. That's serious stuff. Then, boom, 1964, it becomes autonomous. And that is so key, because it gave them the freedom to do real, unbiased research without political pressure. And the evolution didn't stop. In 2006, it made another huge leap and became a full-on university that can grant degrees, locking in its role in teaching future leaders.
And this right here, this just gives you a taste of the incredible brainpower PIDE has been associated with over the years. We're talking about leaders on the world stage, like former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. We're talking about absolute titans of economics like Mahbubul Haq, the guy who literally created the Human Development Index, and he was deeply involved with PIDE. Then you throw in more Nobel laureates like Robert Mundell and Lawrence Klein, and you realize, wait a minute, this was never just some local think tank. It was a global hub for economic thought.
But you know, PIDE influence wasn't just about who was walking through the doors. It was about what they were creating, and, crucially, how they got that work out into the world.
So how did they do it? How did they make their voice heard? Well, for decades, their weapon of choice was the power of the written word. They were all about producing super rigorous, peer-reviewed research and then making sure it landed on the desks of the people in charge.
Just look at this arsenal of knowledge they built. Their main journal, the Pakistan Development Review, has been essential reading for anyone in the field since way back in 1961. Then you have groundbreaking books on huge topics like land reform, plus more than 200 deep-dive reports on, well, you name it. All of this stuff together, it basically became the foundation for how Pakistan made economic policy based on actual facts.
Okay, so that's the history. But what about today? The way we all get information has totally changed, right? Well, PDA has changed right along with it. It's really transformed itself from a classic academic institute into a super dynamic modern knowledge hub.
And this comparison really tells the whole story. The old school stuff, the academic journals and the long reports, that's still the foundation. But look at how they operate now. They're putting out blogs, eye-catching infographics, and these really quick, digestible knowledge briefs. Instead of just stuffy old lectures, they've got weekly online seminars and webinars that anyone, anywhere in the world can tune into. It's a total reinvention of how a think tank talks to people. And the stuff they're working on is just as cutting edge. This is not your grandfather's economics, you know? They're digging into things like using blockchain for real estate, reforming the civil service, the connection between clean water and public health, and even the gendered aspects of crime. This shows you an institution that is right on the front lines, tackling the biggest, messiest problems Pakistan is facing right now.
So what's powering all this great research? Well, it's that academic core we talked about. Because it's a university, its departments, like economics, business studies, and population sciences, they're not just classrooms, they're the engine room. That's where all this new research is born. And it's where they're training up the next wave of experts who are going to have to solve these problems.
So you add it all up, right? The incredible history, the world-class research, the education, the way they get their ideas out there now. What you get is an institution that is all in on shaping the future of Pakistan.
You can almost think of it like an influence pipeline. It's a pretty straightforward process. Step 1, it all begins with rock-solid research. Step 2, they get those findings out to as many people as possible. Step 3, they don't just publish and walk away. They actually start conversations and debates. And finally, step 4, which is maybe the most important, they train the future leaders who are going to take these ideas and actually make them happen.
And get this, PIDE's influence doesn't even stop at the border. They're actually the main coordinator for something called the South Asian Network of Economic Research Institutes, SANI for short. Their mission is bigger than just one country. The idea is to build connections all across the region to help everyone make smarter, more informed policy. It's about lifting the whole region up.
So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. PIDE isn't some dusty old archive. It's a living, breathing engine. It's constantly pumping out new ideas, starting important arguments, and actively pushing development forward, both in Pakistan and beyond.
And that really leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? In a world that's getting more complex by the second, how vital is it for a country to have an institution like this? One that's dedicated not just to looking backwards, but to seriously, thoughtfully, and bravely trying to map out a path forward.